Let's take a live look at the big board. Right now, the Dow, we can see those numbers now. Here we go. Currently up about 200 points. And at today's White House briefing, Treasury Secretary Bessent was asked about uncertainty in the markets created by Trump's tariff policies. And here's what he had to say.
President Trump creates what I would call strategic uncertainty in the negotiations. So he is more concerned about getting the best possible trade deals for the American people. We had 4 years of bad deals for decades of unfair trading, and we are going to unwind those and make them fair. What we are doing is we've created a process. I think the aperture of uncertainty will be narrowing, and as we start moving forward announcing deals, then there will be certainty. But certainty is not necessarily a good thing in negotiating.
That's interesting. We'll turn now to CBS News Money Watch correspondent Kelly O'Grady. Kelly, do investors agree that uncertainty is good for these trade negotiations?
Well, I mean, look, I think there's a fair point that in a negotiation, you don't want your opponent to know exactly where you're coming from and what you're willing to accept versus not. But investors, to your point, they are looking for certainty because they want to know what sectors to be able to put their money in, what's going to see growth, what's going to be impacted by tariffs, what companies are going to have to move some of their supply around. There's such a lack of clarity right now, and that is why you have seen the markets react so negatively. Before trading open today, I mean, you mentioned all of the major indexes are up right now, but before today, the Dow and the S&P 500 had lost over 7% since the president took office. The NASDAQ lost over 11%. And if you've been looking at your 401k, you're also seeing a dip there. And it goes back to that point that you just made about uncertainty. Investors don't have confidence about that sort of long-term growth. We've heard from companies over this earnings season, a lot of them are pulling their guidance and they're just in a wait and see mode. And that's reflected in how the markets have reacted, Liz.
Okay, well, let's switch from Wall Street to Main Street then, Kelly. I mean, consumer confidence has been in negative territory really since Trump took office. What do numbers just released show today?
Yeah, so we got the consumer confidence report, and this looks at how consumers feel about the economy, feel about the labor market, feel about how things are going. So we saw consumer confidence overall hit the lowest level since May of 2020. That was just a few months into the pandemic when there was all of that uncertainty about where things would go. And then when I was zeroing in on the expectations for consumer confidence, how they're feeling about things over the next year, that hit the lowest reading since October 11th. Okay, that was pretty low. And then one thing, of course, that people are always concerned about is the labor market, employment levels. Within that same report, I want to get this right, 32% expect employment to fall in the next 6 months. And I paired that number, I thought that was really interesting, with some of the other data that we got today, the JOLTS report that shows job openings in the labor market that came in much lower than expected, Liz. So sure, how consumers feel doesn't translate into what may actually happen, but I did think that was interesting. The number of jobs open lower than expected, and that comports with a lot of what we are hearing from companies that many are in a hiring freeze because they just don't know what's going to happen over the next few months with these tariffs.
And people are less likely to open up their wallets if they don't know what the economy is going to look like in a couple of months, too. All right, Kelly O'Grady, thank you so much for that insight as always.